welcome to the last meeting for this calendar year. God has blessed us to make it to this last meeting, and we're so thankful. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about a little bit later some of the things that we're thankful for. But right now, I want to start as we always do with introductions. I'm going to ask Pastor to start. If you just tell us who you are and who you're with.
My name is Pastor Morris Jones. I'm representing Fellowship Baptist Church of Augusta down on 15th Street. And this is one of the deacons that attend our church, Deacon Howard.
I'm John Manton, attorney for the Land Bank.
Ryan Downs, Land Bank Board.
Karen Gordon, Land Bank Board.
Scott Roundtree at the Land Bank Board. Sean Edwards, Land Bank.
Jamar Jones, Land Bank.
Ron Howard, Oliver Homes.
Susan LaFleur, Augusta Press.
And those two princesses that you got with you.
This is Kennedy Edwards and Addison Edwards. They're just yes. I know, right?
Okay, everyone should have received a copy of the meeting minutes from November 5th. If you have not, there is a copy in your packet. If you take a look and somebody will make a motion concerning the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Ryan Downs, seconded by Ms. Karen Gordon to accept the meeting minutes from November 5th. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I'd like to have a vote to accept a addendum item onto the agenda. There should be a copy of the item on a separate page. It is to approve request from Apollo Rental Homes to purchase land bank parcel located at 506 2nd Avenue for construction.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Ryan Dow, seconded by Mr. Scott Roundtree to approve the addition of the addendum item. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay, getting started on our agenda. Item 2B, approve request from Elite Visionaries and Company, LLC, to purchase land bank parcel located at 1419 Maple Street for construction of single-family housing.
Yes, sir. So we had the chance to have some conversation about 1419 Maple. If you're familiar with the Land Walk Bethlehem Revitalization Project, you know that housing community development is primarily constructed along Twig Street. However, they did turn the corner right at the roundabout and have partnered with another developer to build 3 units on Maple. Those have been listed with their brokerage service. As I understand, it's been a little bit of slow motion on getting those sold. But we've been fortunate enough that there's still interest in continuing to go down Maple with other private investors. And so our hope and ambition is that the board will approve the sale of this parcel at 1419. Complement development that's already happened at those properties listed at 09, 11, and 13, similar style, similar sales price. So staff recommendations for the board to approve 1419 Maple Street for sale for a total of $4,900, which is the submitted down payment of $1,400 plus the $3,500 value for the lot. The customer has asked the board to forgive the cleanup fee of $1,433 on that parcel.
So the total sale would be 4,900.
Yes.
Questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made by Ms. Karen Gordon and seconded by Mr. Ryan Downs to accept the sale of the property located at 1419 Maple Street for the price of $4,900 to Elite Visionaries and Company LLC. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? The ayes have it. I will tell you that when I first got onto the land bank, I can't remember how many years ago that is now, but some 10, 11 years ago. Then Executive Director Norman Michael, I asked him to show me around, and he said, first place I would start redevelopment over this area would be Maple Street. At that time, you probably could have taken a bulldozer and hit one house and 7 or 8 houses would have fallen. So it's good that we've got some synergy going on. Item 2C, approve request from Fellowship Baptist Church of Augusta Incorporated to purchase land bank parcel located at 1462 S. McIntyre for overflow parking. Ms. Jones.
Yes, so, this will be for Fellowship Baptist Church. They are located at 1655 Middle Street, which is this one right here. And they would like this parcel here for overflow parking. They have paid full amount fees of $6,000 and they are offering half of their market value at $600. And they are also asking that the demolition fee be forgiven at $6,769.76 for a total counter offer of $6,600. Staff is recommending approval, so that we get this property back to productive use and keep it cleaned up. Yes.
Would this be considered exempt?
So if it's acquired for parking, the tax assessor's office would review it as of January 1. I imagine it would still be in our name as of January 1. So from that point of the sale to the beginning of the next year would need to be cleaned up and visibly used as parking area. And the church would have to file for the exemption after acquisition.
Additionally, Mr. Vassar, who is our interim planning and development director, unfortunately couldn't make the meeting, but the church may want to also touch base with the planning department just to see if there are gonna be any specifications that they would want on the lot. They might do something as simple as a request for a crush and run. It may be as much as them wanting you to asphalt the lot, but you do wanna make it compliant, with city ordinances.
Yes. That's the actual plans for Christian.
Fantastic. You already ahead of me, Pastor. Thank you.
I also like the motion that we waived that $600. And then go inside the fee. Go inside the construction fee. And if I may.
So that would be 6,000 instead of 60.
Oh, the chairman's entertaining the way. Okay.
I'll ask.
That's not gonna make or break us. If the board would entertain a counter from our own side to waive the 600 because you gotta make it compliant with city code, I'm absolutely fine with that. You're covering all the costs of the attorney and codes. I'm absolutely fine. So staff recommendation would be 6,000 instead of 6,600. If the board would entertain.
Question, comment?
That works for me. Motion to approve. 6,000 instead of 6,600.
Y'all lost me there.
Okay, go to,
How big is this little parcel?
It's a non-conforming residential lot.
So it couldn't be used for a residential lot? Okay.
Not currently, we'd have to do some acquisition or a special exception. And if it's coming off insurance costs, it's coming off maintenance costs, and they're gonna be utilized by an entity that I don't anticipate closing.
Okay.
As long as they make
It doesn't have an alternative use for your mission.
not as is.
All right, well, I'm supportive too, I'll second.
Have a motion made by Ms. Karen Gordon, properly seconded by Mr. Ryan Downs to accept the sale of the property located at 1462 S. McIntyre Boulevard to Fellowship Baptist Church of Augusta price of $6,000. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Item 2D, approve from the trustees of the Church of the Lord of Jesus Christ of the Apostolic Faith Incorporated to purchase a land bank parcel located at 137 Watkins Street for recombination with 145 Watkins Street. Ms. Jones.
So similar to the last item, I don't even think both churches knew they were multiplying, but same thing, except this one is actually adjacent. This also, 137 Watkins is also on our excess list. So that's the list we presented to you last May that we said we would kind of lighten the developer requirements and reduce the price on it. The church also wanted to let us know that after Hurricane Helene, they did spend $2,000 getting a tree off of this particular lot. They regularly maintain this lot. So we're asking that to just put it into their possession and make it theirs since they have kind of done the due diligence in keeping the lot clean, the price sheet. So they have paid the full $1,400 in fees, and they're offering $100 for the parcel for an even $1,500, and they are asking about the demolition lien of $3,012.
Questions, comments?
None from me. Motion to approve.
Second. Motion has been made by Mr. Scott Roundtree, properly seconded by Chris Johnson, to sell the property located at 137 Watkins Street to the trustees of the Church of the Lord of Jesus Christ, Apostolic Faith, for the price of $1,500. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Approve request from A&D Development Group to purchase land bank parcels located at 1706 Lucky and 1456 Essie McIntyre Boulevard for construction of single-family housing. Mr. Edwards.
Yes, sir. We've been in contact with Mr. Bowden and his business partner on multiple occasions with hopes that we could have partnered them with Housing and Community Development at the Twig Circle Development Node, which is zoned R2. Unfortunately, those conversations couldn't progress with the state of that department, and so they came back and said, well, we want to find some duplex zone land. Everything that we own along Lucky and Essie McIntyre and Turpin Hill is zoned appropriately. They are ready to go financially, and you can see in your application package, we outlined their construction costs, the timelines, examples, rendering of the duplex that they will be putting up. Their hope is to be able to sell each unit, so A and B, but they are open to selling the full building if an investor wants to rent that out. So staff is recommending selling both 1456 Essie McIntyre and 1706 Lucky at the total price noted in your application, which is $8,500, $3,600 for Lucky and $4,900 for Essie McIntyre. They are requesting that on the Essie McIntyre lot, a demolition lien be forgiven.
Questions, comments?
And so both of these lots being purchased to build one duplex?
They are planning to be able to do 2 units, but that's going to be dependent upon planning and development with that triangular lot on Lucky. If they have to, they are also included in their packet timelines and costs for single-family houses where they could split a single family back in. So they're trying to maximize the amount of space available.
What's the amount of the demolition lien?
$6,248.45. That's just all Essie McIntyre.
Oh. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made by Ms. Carrie Gordon and properly seconded by Mr. Scott Roundtree to sell the properties located at 1456 Essie McIntyre and 1706 Lucky Street to A&D Development Group for a total price of total price of $8,500. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Excited. Item E, approve request from Holly Reed to purchase land bank parcel located at 1593 Bleakley Street and 1527 Bleakley Street for construction of a quadruplex. Mr. Edwards.
Mr. Chairman, if you would, could we please take items F and G as companion items, since Ms. Reed is also the applicant for the foreclosure?
That would include, item D, approve request from Ms. Holly Reed for land bank foreclosure assistance on 1528 15th Street for construction of a quadruplex.
Okay. Well, Ms.
Holly?
Reed,
Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I can barely hear everyone else.
Okay. I don't know if I can do anything about that. We'll just have to speak up.
Ms. Reed, this is Sean. I'm gonna just open and then I'll give you a chance as the chairman will allow for you to be able to expound, okay?
Okay.
So Ms. Reed came to our last land development conference after participating in a series of Zoom calls. They were introduced to us as an investment group and has continued to stay in contact with the land bank and try to grow her assets. Her hope and ambition is to use her VA benefit in order to be able to build a quadruplex for her primary residence and then take advantage of some rental income. We worked really hard to find an area that made sense with proximity to the schools and the hospital. And we were able to successfully put something together on Bleakley Street to be able to show her. The concept would be the foreclosure of a tax delinquent lot that we have gotten approval from the tax commissioner's office to move forward on, to recombine it with one of our existing lots. Ms. Reed would get her surveys done so the structure could go there, and then the other land bank parcel would be her adjacent parcel. So she'll work through planning, of course, for building permit, surveying, parcel number, all of those things. But this will allow for a new structure to sit. You can pull that map so they can see. It will allow for a new structure to sit at 1527 and just 1528, and then the parking would be at the end of Bleakley. This is right in the area where the Augusta Housing Authority built its Walton Green project. So great rental location, infrastructure is all new. She's got access to a lot of parking, good amenities. So when you come off the off-ramp of 15th going north,
Gotcha.
we had a piece of property right in that little cut, and so good location. Ms. Reed, did you want to add any details? I just gave an overview of how we met and then your project.
I'm just excited about moving back to the Augusta area. I was stationed there many moons ago, and so I wanted to come down and be able to the housing shortage that you all have, maybe rent out to some service veterans, or I went by some of the schools when I was there to find out about the housing shortage for the school system or the medical district. I just want to be a part of the Augusta community again.
And so staff is recommending sale of 1527, at 1593 Bleakley, and a request for foreclosure of 1528 15th Street, has a different address because it touches the road. To complement this project, Ms. Reed has asked to hold off on closing of the two land bank parcels until the foreclosure goes through, because without it, there is no project. It sits right in the middle. She has also requested if the board would be willing to remove demolition liens and lot cleanup fees. They do total $15,104.
So the total cost for all three lots is $23,600.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
She's already submitted $10,900.
Yes, sir.
And we would hold off on the sale of the two land bank parcels, two Bleakley parcels, until the foreclosure occurs
questions for me. Motion to approve.
A second. Motion has been made by Ms. Karen Gordon and properly seconded by Mr. Chris Johnson to sell the property, land bank property located at 1593 and 1527 Bleakley Street, as well as to assist on the foreclosure of the property at 1528 15th Street, with the sale of the two land bank properties being contingent on the acquisition of 1528 15th Street for a total price of $23,600. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. Ayes have it.
Ms. Reed, it was approved, so we do thank you. If you wanna hang around, you can. I know it's hard to hear us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Have a great day.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, at this time, we'll do the addendum item. Approved request from Apollo Rental Homes to purchase land bank parcel located at 506 Second Avenue for construction of single-family home. Mr. Edwards.
Yes, sir. So back in November, the board approved moving forward with a request by Mr. Howard, 514 Second for rehabilitation. And in this case, now he's ready to go ahead and get the other property that we have on that street for new construction. This is the last of what we have in the Sand Hills neighborhood, aside from what we hold for the city of Augusta. So very excited about closing out inventory in that neighborhood. Staff, of course, is recommending approval to Mr. Howard for a total price of $8,500, $3,500 for the deposit, which has already been paid, and then $5,000 being due at closing.
That's almost at the end of second.
506, yeah, something.
Questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion has been made by Ms. Karen Gordon and properly seconded by Mr. Chris Johnson to approve the request from Apollo Rental Homes to purchase the land bank parcel located at 506 Second Avenue for construction of single-family housing for a total price of $8,500. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. At this time, we will have an update on foreclosures and donations from Mr. Mayor.
No updates on the donations, but they're attached on the second sheet. Foreclosures, just recently filed, or filing, should have been filed yesterday, I think, except for my clerk. 13 foreclosures. The reason we do it that way is we can then request from the courts to have them all signed to one judge and have just one hearing, as opposed to spreading them out over months, trying to get 13 hearings with 13 different assigned judges. So those should be moving forward, and hopefully have those for sale early, probably February, March, right? Maybe March 2026. We have some that have just come into the land bank from November, so this should be ready to sell right after the first of the year. Any questions, comments? And I removed them all, so those are some of them, but I think we did a total on that, I think 26 foreclosures this year.
Any questions or comments?
No questions.
I'm so stimulated by this.
That's possible.
Okay, before we go to the next item, I see we have the calendar for 2026. Joan, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yes, we'll talk about it more in the report, but it's just our normal first Wednesday of every month, the 1 to 3 three dots represent the finance committee meeting and a board meeting, so finance 1 to 2, board meeting 2 to 3, and everything else is just board meetings. So the only one that may be problematic is July. It always is. Everything else pretty much. And those are available for the public. We'll have them on our website and this topic.
Okay. Any comments? All right, moving on to, moving on to item 3B, which is the presentation of Land Bank year-end review. Ms. Jones?
So Director Edwards and I kind of worked on this together, so you'll see his form in your package as well, but I'll start it. So kind of like how Spotify and Apple Music have like a rap replay, this is just the Land Bank 2025 replay. I included information that I thought y'all care about, but of course, let you know what you want to see in the next year. So first, we just have some performance highlights. We have 57 properties approved for sale. This won't include any properties in a depository agreement or any unified build properties. These are just properties that are set to transfer out of our name into somebody else. We closed on 31 properties. These are not all properties that were approved this year. Some of them were approved in years prior, but some of these were approved this year and did close this year. The assessed value on properties closed is $515,180. We felt it important to include this because these properties will hopefully start paying taxes next year. So that's the assessed value of those properties. And we had 12 new customers. It seems low in comparison to how many properties we approved, but keep in mind most customers get 3 to 4 properties at a time. And just more information on what was approved. So total fees collected, $171,939.61. This includes attorney's fees and application and admin fees and code enforcement fees. Total amount due at closing, $406,888. So this is based on the assessed value. People negotiating on the assessed value, what we see at every meeting.
So, Kamara, so for those 57 properties, we essentially made $406,888.
But we know that not all of that will go to us. We have like 644 Hawthorne, for example, that will go back to Capital Rise. And I believe we have maybe another deal like that, like the 400 East Boundary, some of that goes to us, some of it doesn't. So there's some complex deals in that. So we'll get some fraction of this, but not this whole amount. And then some of the fees will go to us, but the majority of them will go to our attorney for the closing, quiet title action, foreclosures, so on and so forth. So that makes for a total of $578,827.69. This just represents how much money will be collected. It does not represent how much money will go to the bank. If you want that type of breakdown, please let me know. And this is just all the properties, 20, 20, and then 17, all 47 properties. I can send this if you want to look into it, but you were there for all of them. The development types, these are proposed development types. We know that sometimes things change and developers come back and ask for changes or extensions, but this is what the application said. Overwhelmingly, single family homes were proposed at 75.4%. Second was recombination with an existing property. We saw one of those today, and we're always happy to facilitate that. Next is multifamily housing at 5, and then we have one other, which is the 400 East Boundary, the community center. So I'm going to do a quick SWOT analysis, but Director Edwards will go more in depth, more strategic. He has more strategic goals for the organization, just kind of a base level. So one of our strengths this year has been our social media. We've gotten a lot of new clients, a lot of recognition, a lot of people finding us via social media, particularly Instagram and YouTube. We're still working on Facebook. They kind of a hard algorithm there, but Instagram and YouTube we've been really successful at that. Relationships with other departments, so the tax assessor's office, tax commissioner's office, planning and development. It helps us just do our jobs better. And this video on the side, it's a longer video, and some of the data that we have in that video we got directly from those offices. And then our service to the community, a lot of land banks, especially in Georgia, only work with big developers. We work with beginners, we work with private citizens. And also in this video, you'll see how the land bank was able to work with this developer to transform a whole neighborhood. So I'll play that real quick. It is a clip from a longer video, though. I did send it to all of you guys. It's about 30 minutes, but this is just one of our.
My name is Dante Schultz. I'm the manager and CEO of CD Capital Investment Groups. In the development you see behind me is Sherman, Tax Commissioner Chris Johnson, and Land Bank Director Sean Edwards pitched this development to us as it was near the big circle development and being the next phase of development for the Laney Bethlehem Walker area. Initially, when we got the area, there were 7 dilapidated structures here, overgrown yards, trees down, and in our initial efforts was to clean up.
This is video crews working through the rain today to start this work on Sherman and Maple Streets, right in the heart of the Bethlehem community.
That's where we find News 12's Will Rio. He's live for us. Will, walk us through the city's plan for that area behind you.
Well, Richard, this house right here is on the list for demolition, and it'll soon not look like this, obviously, because it will be it will be part of the demolition. But right down at the front of the street here on Sherman Street, they plan to build 4 houses, and they have hopes that this will spread into the neighborhood here. Community officials and city leaders say that they're hoping that this will turn around our communities here in Augusta.
Those type of efforts made this possible. Because initially we got the lots, we thought we were going to be able to go get institutional funding, get ground running, make money, and the world was always that was not the case. What this allowed us to do was create a market to where private developers could come in and start to buy up these blighted lots and dilapidated lots of houses and build new construction.
So those are our strengths. Our weaknesses, obviously our staff size. We have a very small staff. We do what we can, but we are only 2 people. Lawn maintenance, that's something that was definitely hard for us this year after Hurricane Helene. Unexpected and cost us a lot of money. We'll get more into that as we get into the presentation. And then meeting consistency. I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. Y'all pretty much show up to every meeting. But if we could be more consistent about the first Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. in whatever our designated location is, it'll be easier for the public to be able to follow what we do. Our opportunities, community engagement. A lot of people still don't know what the land bank is. They don't understand what we do. They don't understand that we could be a tool for them. So the more we're able to engage with the community, the more they'll kind of understand what we do. Board member participation, we want to make it convenient for you guys to participate, and we want to do work that you have a sense of pride in. So we just want to kind of work on that, work on making it a little bit more convenient for you guys to participate, whether that be changing location, changing time, whatever gets you guys here. And communicating success. We're still working on being able to constantly share our success stories. We are 2 people, but being able to create content and show what we do and brag more, because a lot of people just don't know, so they can't advocate for us in our existence. They don't know what we do. So to that end, we'll also have another video.
My journey in Augusta has been long-winded and hard-fought. I cannot and I will not proceed without applauding the efforts of the land bank, specifically Tax Commissioner Chris Johnson and Sean Edwards. They held my hand through a lot of this. They remained steadfast on this project to show what government entity and private development can do. And in anyone else's efforts to build in Augusta, I would say that the land bank is the way to go. But understand that it will be a marathon to the finish line, not a sprint. And I would for sure recommend the land bank to anyone that is coming to the specifically Laney Walker Bethlehem area in order to build and redevelop. Understand that is what you will be doing. You will be building and redeveloping. You won't be building for what the term now is gentrification. The plan here is to have these same people living just in better circumstances, not to rid them of where they were, get them out of the area, displace them. It's to just make what was once a thriving area that again.
And then lastly, our threats. shrinking inventory, I don't see this being a problem in the near future, but as we sell more, we have less to sell. So, rising costs, things will cost more in the future, paper, pens, sticky notes, so just little things like that that add up. And then we're also having a funding cut this year, so from the city, we're getting a 10% cut, so that's something that we will have to work through in the next year. So these are some of my big picture goals. Like I said, Director Edwards has some more strategic goals that we'll get through in a second. I hope to have 12 out of 12 meetings next year. I know that's ambitious, but that's what I want to do. And I would love if all board members can commit to attending at least 8 each. We of course don't want to put stress on the same 4 board members every month. But if everyone can commit to going to at least 8 each, then we should be able to have a meeting, have a format meeting. I want to reduce our excess property list by 20%, which is about 29 properties. We presented that to you guys last year in May, and the point was to create more tax revenue and to reduce our maintenance costs. Of course, in October, September of the same year, Helene happened, so we weren't able to see the fruits of our labor this year from doing that. So that's something I want to hit a little bit harder next year, so that by the summertime we can see a reduction in our maintenance costs. Because our maintenance did go up by about, I think it's like 30% this year, just cutting down trees and getting trash that people left there. So Helene was a lot this year. And speaking of that, we want to adopt a more formal plan for maintenance. That's something Director Edwards and I have been working through for a very long time, but it just hasn't made sense financially. Right now, we're on a more reactive schedule. We want to be more proactive. That'll help us and also the community. They know somebody is guaranteed coming out to cut that lot. We're working on it. We had to get through that initial Hurricane Helene maintenance first. Those initial cuts were just, the prices were pretty high. So we want to have that worked out at least by the end of next year at the absolute latest. And then a mid-year check-in on goals at our June meeting. I think it's good for us to collect data and to communicate our successes and our wins and keep people informed and be transparent. So it would be nice to do a check-in mid-year, where we are, what we want to do, how are things going, where we need to pivot, etc. And with that said, we've already talked about it. That is next year's board meeting schedule. If we could stick to it as much as possible, that would be great. But if we do have to pivot, just make those pivots earlier. And that's all for me. I don't know if we want to go right into you? Okay. So any questions, anything you want to see on the next one?
No question, I'll just make a quick comment. The Sherman Street project was really a big deal. That was an area, many of you may or may not remember, that at one time we had a significant amount of arson going on in that area. So some of those dilapidated buildings were the result of arson that had occurred. Sean had a vision of getting those properties and getting them into the hands of a developer who could not only develop there, but it would end up complementing what Housing and Community Development were doing on MLK. And this is before they started the Maple Street portion of it. And Dante and his company, CD Capital, did a great job. But he had some, like as he said, he had some issues. And what Sean was able to do, since they weren't able to do what they originally purchased the property for, at least by themselves, Sean coordinated with Housing and Community Development. And so then it went from being a private quasi-governmental project to a private quasi-governmental and governmental project, and having HCD help them get that. And not only has he built over there, I think there have been 2 other houses, 3 houses, 2 built and 1 on the way, by other private developers as a result of that project.
Yeah, Mr. Harmon, Nikila Harmon, who also purchased from the land bank. So good stuff, very good stuff. I didn't want to interrupt Mr. Sherman. So look, I no questions. It's a comment. One to Kimara for presentation. She done showed me up the slides and stuff. Outstanding job there. But she touched on a couple of things in year end that will directly play into what we look at as goals. Just want to remind the board that, one, we continue to sell property despite hurdles that we've dealt with, natural and unnatural. We've not allowed budget constraints, be those necessary on the front end with reductions or increased costs to stop productivity. We are study staff of 2 like many land banks, but as you already know, that we are one of the few land banks in the state that continue to work with everyone. Sister cities like Macon, which is of similar size, have made a decision that they don't work with small investors or one-on-one entities, and larger groups like Atlanta don't even have an application process for you. If you're not a Habitat for Humanity or an Invest Atlanta, they don't do that at all. We had the opportunity to speak to that point at our state conference that we attended. So we are consistently working with our faith-based organizations, our individual investors, our nonprofits. We're one of the few that's still grinding an application out. And as Ms. Reed noted, we're working with everybody that's someone that's wanting to build a single family house because they're coming back to try to help the developer put a whole deal together. So we hope that although our numbers are not the biggest in the state, our board is pleased with the fact that we get in the trenches and make an application make sense before bringing it to you. So great job on the report. And if there are no other comments from board, I'll go into your 3 goals for next year. So just very quickly, you have a handout in your packet. I'm just going to quickly go through these because they directly align with where we were and where we think we need to be. Number 1 being organizational stability and capacity. Again, we're a staff of 2, but we do a lot. Kamara essentially goes down day-to-day operations as well as now taking applications and vetting those, all issues that come with invoicing, maintenance, things of that nature. And we're out also scouting new applications and trying to get new revenue. But we want to make sure that our policies and procedures continue to reflect as we grow and diversify what we do. We do have a policies committee that is part of our board. And so over the course of Q1 of next year, we want to revisit our SOPs and update them. So that will be a request for policy committee to take a look at that revision, put their eyes to it, give any type of edits before it's presented to the full board. So that is one thing we want to make sure that we're doing, is continue to update SOPs. In addition to that, we do have a workflow plan that we plan to work with and have started working with Biz Consultants. That's the IT company that built your land bank website. We'll work with them on making things more automated, so our application will eventually be something you can complete online. All documents will be able to be submitted that way. If you note to November's board meeting, I believe, is when we had 2 simultaneous applications on a single parcel. That's going to rectify that matter as we've worked through at least several emails and 1 Zoom call of how the functionality of that will be to render a parcel unable to have a secondary application. There'll be things of that nature. We're being very cost conscious with those changes. So we're not going to have a payment option applied on the web because there are a tremendous number of fees. So we'll still receive certified funds for a complete app, but it will eliminate all that duplication and hopefully get things out a little bit faster. So organizationally, we want to improve operations and accountability, and then of course have the capacity to be more apt to expansion when partnerships come. That secondary goal, strategic inventory monetization. Essentially, this is building revenue for redevelopment focus. We want to ensure, as Kamara noted with that excess properties list, we're getting those properties out. They are non-conforming lots, which is the reason that y'all elected to approve a program of that nature. Meaning most often, they're skinnier than they need to be for the way in which they're zoned. But we're also having a series of conversations with the interim planning director, Mr. Vassar, about the possibility of rezoning some of those parcels to an R1E, which according to city code, then therefore doesn't require a particular width or acreage, so that they're a more marketable piece. We're not gonna be able to do anything with the little slivers. We got some things that are 17 feet wide. But if something is 48 feet and an R1E would only require 40, let's go through the process of getting it rezoned as the land bank so we can market it as a buildable lot, as opposed to liquidating it at such a low price because that future buyer will have to take it. We also want to start to package properties. Ms. Reed's application is a great example of that. The two land bank lots alone didn't have much value at all. But with that foreclosure, we're then able to meet the needs that she had, seeing that we had the width necessary and depth, talking with the planning department, Mr. Kevin Boyd has been great, so I shot him out, of how we could design a duplex there and have adjacent parking so she has a compliant project. It's a little bit more work than just selling a piece of dirt, but with her foreclosure going through and then with the closing of the two land bank lots, we'll not only have a homeowner as opposed to just an investor who's benefiting from rental income, but building a multifamily development on vacant land. So we want to try to do more of that as well, digging into the projects and helping to design them for investors to make their land more marketable. And we think that that'll increase revenue. We also want to continue as part of that the marketing push. So you see that next goal as an outcome as well. As Kimara noted, we're doing really good on social media. Folks are giving us their feedback and engagement as she's posting these lots. But once we sign MOUs or MOAs, depending on what John's recommendation is for those, when it comes to SPLOST dollars, we're going to do a big marketing push using social media because we're going to clear a lot of stuff because it is under like remediation. We're going to get those signs out into those yards with contact information, and we're going to start doing a big push to get this inventory down. Y'all gave us a lot of grace of going to that non-judicial tax sale back in 2021 and getting our inventory up. We now want to get that stuff sold and get it into productive use, and then manage an inventory that makes a little bit more sense for our staff size. We've got cities in Georgia that are managing between 50 to 100 properties, give or take, sales going out, new inventory coming in. We've got a considerable amount more than that. Now, that was led from a desire, as noted in previous meetings, to work with the city on 2 different grant applications, Choice Neighborhood and GIG. But we do need to reduce our inventory significantly because those implementation grants have not moved forward. They're still in planning. So we're going to try to get the inventory down. Again, social media marketing is going to help with that a lot. Last goal, of course, is public impact and redevelopment. This is a big one for us just because, as Kimara noted, the people who know about the land bank really trust us as a staff to represent you and the mission of getting property into someone's hands that's gonna pay the taxes, do their project, do a good property. We don't have enough girth in that. We've got folks like Chris Oyenuga who's gonna do this Reed's property, like Alex that did all of Sherman Street. They buy constantly, but we gotta get more customers. And there's an education piece that goes with that we'll use our website in part to help us with. So there'll be some changes there to how the programming looks, to walk through an application using video if an individual doesn't really understand some of the jargon, and maybe making some changes even in how applications are structured based upon what type of process you're using. It's a little bit different thinking through a foreclosure that the attorney has to help you with and has a timeline of around 10 months, and acquiring a piece of property that's already got clear title. So we're really clear in those, and that's going to help hopefully get some stuff out. But it's important that people know what Augusta's land bank has gotten accomplished and the types of things that we're trying to do. With that, we want to start to look at some of this new funding, some stabilization projects. We've got some stuff in our inventory in partnership with HCD that is deteriorating, for lack of a better term, that needs to be stabilized. And some of those historic structures are extremely significant. Penny Savings Bank is one. We've been made aware there is a roof leak on that property, and it is hurting the building a lot. We cannot choose to lose that asset. It's the first savings and loan, African American savings and loan in Augusta. Can't let a roof leak destroy that building. We've got another property, which is the C.T. Walker House, which was a partnership between Housing and Community Development and Historic Augusta that currently is non-compliant because it's not mothballed, it's boarded, and then unfinished. It's not to say that we're going to go in and finish that property, but we need to make sure that it's properly mothballed and be compliant because it's in our name. And that's going to help to save the interior of the historic structure. You have the old Lightfoot building, which is currently falling apart and is a hazard because it's falling apart onto the sidewalk. So it could end up being a lawsuit. We need to shore up that wall. So there's some things we're gonna do to rebuild community trust with these assets that mean a lot in the Golden Blocks community. But at the same time, give us a little bit of recognition that I haven't spent a lot of money. Another thing is launching a pilot zone. The Laney Walker, well, I'm gonna say the Laney Walker Boulevard has been described by HCD as a heart, because it leads you directly into the medical district, divides in half the downtown development authority's target zone, and then offers opportunities where there was expansion into Laney Walker and Bethlehem for revitalization. There's some projects there that could get a little bit of an infusion from the land bank through partnership with private investors that could make a huge difference. One of which that came to mind in our notes, the old bank that was purchased that is right next to Walter's development, that is that LIHTC deal. It is overgrown. It is beginning to become more than just dilapidated because there's an open aspect on 11th Street. And then there's also a possibility of squatters when people are going in and out of the building that's open on the back.
Yeah, we talked to the owner about that too.
I've talked to Mr. Bonner on multiple occasions. It is currently listed, but it's listed well above market based upon the condition of it. At one point in time, there was supposed to be a partnership there to develop that as a second site of that low-income housing tax credit deal. That's not gonna happen now. Again, he has listed that parcel, but because of its impact on a neighborhood where we have a lot of investment, we gotta start to look at things that nature. And then lastly, to produce impact reports. Kimar's presentation really goes a step past what some of our peers are doing in the state, because a lot of them will just do the annual report booklets. But we do need to also do an annual report booklet so that if someone doesn't want to go to our website or doesn't want to stop by our office in key locations, there can be an update available to the public to say, well, what has the land bank done this year? That, of course, will be put together with an emphasis to keeping our political leadership informed. But it'll be available for any investor that says, well, I heard about this thing called a land bank. They get a 10-page book and say, oh, you've done $15,000 of business, sold this many units. So interaction with the board will inevitably, out of that mid-annual meeting, become something that we're able to put in folks' hands so we can really showcase who we are. The ambition in that particular goal is to create more opportunity for the state and potentially nationally to be able to see what we're doing and make investments in us. The board approved moving forward with a nonprofit corporation status for the land bank as opposed to establishing a separate 501c3. Well, you don't get funding from foundations and private philanthropy if they don't know you. We looked at Mackenzie Bezos' application, for example. We didn't have enough notoriety, even though we do really great projects. Your Broad Street project got some boost and support, not so much because we're known, but because of the relationship with their community relations director, Ms. Maria Cook, which is why Representative Warnock has awarded some funding through his CBS. But if it were not for that relationship, a really good project to bring back a needed home and service wouldn't even have a shot. So I've got to do a much better job of making sure people know who we are and the good work that we do. So those are essentially your goals, and there'll be details to those as we pursue the partnerships and projects that make these happen. But that's really where we're trying to go, is make sure that our internal infrastructure is there so there are not concerns about how your organization is running, that we are working to create as much revenue from the inventory that we have and the partnerships with it, and that we are doing a much better job of telling our story.
Excellent. First of all, thank you, Kamara. That was a really, really good job making that presentation. You know, people don't know who you are unless you tell them. And that is one of the things that we have suffered from the land bank when you have just a couple of people working, because we're board members, and so we have other jobs. And but the two of you have to not only do the work, but then you have to be responsible for the broadcasting and the media and the advertising as well. And that's tough. And for a period of time, we were so concentrated on getting the work done that we didn't tell people what work we were getting done. And so that's a really great job, Kamara. And Sean, got a great job of giving us some future goals. But I want to say, y'all have done an exceptional job, period. Not just today, but all year long. We've had a lot of challenges that you guys have had to work through. catching up on audits when material was not, had to recreate things, you know. I mean, I've done just some exceptional work, not to mention, the sale of the properties that we've done. One thing y'all didn't mention, which I think you do a really good job, and it's one of those tools that we use to advertise, and that was the conference. Y'all did an excellent job on the conference. As a matter of fact, even one of the ones we did today was as a result of the conference. We had several people who have purchased property in the area as a result of what we do, which is a big advertisement tool with that conference. Annual report, you know, I have to do one every year. And so I don't know if I've ever given you a copy of it or not. I have to make a presentation to the grand jury every year. And so I'd be more than happy to let you have a copy of that. Not tell you to use that, but if you need a straw man to create it, you're more welcome to have it. That's all I have. Oh, no, one more thing. Great job, board members. Tomorrow, beat us up as well she should, because again, we can't have a meeting if we don't have the board here. They're the staff, we're the board. And in particular, you guys have been here, you know, grinding it out. I know you have other jobs that you do, and it has been a sacrifice. And I want to let you know that I really, really appreciate everything and all the sacrifices that you guys have made. We're an unpaid board, you know, so we're here doing this because we believe in the work of the land bank, and I want to really let you all know that I really appreciate the hard work and effort that you put into it, including our attorney, Mr. John Manton, as well. There are no foreclosures that occur if he's not the one who's getting them done. So I just want to let the board know. As far as boards, there will be some. We decided not to talk about board membership right now because the city's got some other priorities right now. We were planning to talk about that this month, but we're going to address that next month because we knew that the city right now has some other challenges that have to be resolved first that take priority. And so we are going to come back and address that on next month, but we have not forgotten, which should help with tomorrow's goal of our meeting schedule. That's all I have to say. Board members certainly more welcome to say the only last thing I'll say is Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well done on the presentation, and thanks for sharing the goals for next year. So appreciate your guests today. They obviously think highly of their father.
Good job.
Yes.
That's not what India is perfect.
Just a second. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, no.